Okay, Mrityunjay, you can start now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir. Now we are starting. Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Educational Technology and Management Academy, I extend a warm welcome to all participants joining us for today's thought-provoking webinar on key legal challenges in the era of AI. As artificial intelligence continues to redefine industries, reshape decision making, and influence global governance, it brings with it a complex web of legal, ethical, and regulatory questions, from data privacy and algorithmic accountability to intellectual property and cross border compliance. The legal landscape surrounding AI is evolving rapidly. It demands our urgent attention. To help us navigating this interact terrain, we are honored to have with us Ms. Kalpana Muthireddi, a globally accomplished legal strategist whose expertise span both the courtroom and the boardroom. Ms. Muthireddi is a dual qualified business lawyer licensed in both India and New York, with over 15 years of experience advising Fortune 150 companies, global tech leaders like Wipro Limited, and scaling ventures across jurisdictions. Her pioneering work in cloud computing agreements at Wipro at a time when the field was still emerging speaks volumes of her foresight and innovation. She holds an LLM from Vanderbilt Law School, a top tier institution in the US, and a master's in business laws from National Law School of India University. Her legal approaches is globally aligned, deeply strategic, and rooted in preventive law, ensuring business scales securely without stumbling into legal traps. Ms. Muthireddi is also the author of the widely appreciated guide Legalize Decoded, Tips and Strategies to Make Sense of Legal Concepts in the Business World, which has founded its way in not only into boardroom but also in internal training programs for in-house legal terms. Her contributions to peer-reviewed publications, including a Scopus Index book on blockchain law, further underscore her thought leadership in emerging legal domains. Today, she will shed light on the key legal challenges posed by AI, helping us understand how to anticipate risk, craft resilience, legal frameworks, and foster responsible innovation. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker, Ms. Kalpana Muthireddi. Now, I will ask Dr. Ramesh Sharma if he wants to say anything about her friend Kalpana.
Okay, thank you, Mrityunjay, and good morning, everyone. I join Mrityunjay in welcoming Kalpana ji. She is a great friend, and in fact, we first collaborated on our book. That chapter is very much important. In fact, when we submitted that our book, the IGI Global Publishing Company, they were having some challenges in that, because this is such a new area that the previous research on that topic was very hard to find, and they were saying that references and this, that, etc. So we explained to them, and then they agreed, and that is the result that now that book has been indexed in Scopus. And today's topic is very important on that front, because we can say that today we are standing at a turning point in, say, human history, and particularly on the night of 7th of August, just 2 days ago, when millions of people, they were, I also viewed it, the launch of GPT-5, and means these things, they have taken such a great turn, and that movement where AI is no longer a futuristic idea like as in science fiction, but a living, breathing part of our everyday reality. For quite some time I have been experimenting with AI, and some of my, like in chemistry, physics, biology. And last night I have tried with our Learning 321 group for greatest scientists, that app. Although the app was developed within few minutes, but to mount it on a server it took few hours. But ultimately by midnight I was able to mount it successfully. And today's topic is important in the sense that I think it is in today's Times of India newspaper. There is a news. We all know that about ChatGPT, Grok, Google Gemini, Claude, and Perplexity. So there is this newspaper, news agency from Japan. I think they have taken the matter to the court. I think it is for Perplexity or something, that they are riding on our work, and the matter has gone to the court now. So these things, they are really taking a serious turn, from chatbots in our customer service windows to algorithms predicting medical diagnoses, from AI assisted legal research to generative models creating art, music, even law briefs. Particularly I think Do Not Pay was the first app in UK perhaps, where if you have got a ticket, you refer that app and it can guide you that under which clause you don't require to pay that fine, things. The reach of AI is extraordinary, but with this reach comes a profound legal question. Are our laws ready for machines that can think, that can decide, and even create? Means, let's be honest, the law is not always the fastest runner in the race of innovation. AI evolves in months, even in days. Nowadays, particularly, I think in hours as well. I don't know. 2 days ago, ChatGPT 5 was there, and maybe the team of Sam Altman may be working on 5.1 already there. So, but the legislation often takes years, and this time gap creates a dangerous vacuum where technology surges forward, but the legal frameworks to guide and restrain it lags behind. And in this vacuum, we see not just the opportunity but the risk as well. And one of the challenges is accountability. When an AI system makes a harmful decision, say a biased recruitment recommendation, I was reading somewhere that nowadays many of the companies, the interviews, AI is taking those interviews. Means there is no human person, HR manager. It is the AI systems which are taking those recruitment interviews. A wrongful denial of credit or a self-driving vehicle accident, who is legally responsible for that? Is it programmer? Is it the company deploying that, or the AI itself? Our traditional legal doctrines were built for human actors, not for autonomous self-learning systems. And this demands a fresh look at its liability laws, consumer protection norms, and even corporate governance. In light of you, our today's session is going to be very interesting. The second thing is intellectual property. We can create poems, designs, inventions, complex data sets using AI. But who owns these outputs? Can a non-human author hold copyright? Can AI generated inventions be patented? And if the training data comes from millions of existing works, what does fair use mean in the age of AI? So these are not just technical questions, they cut to the heart of our creative and economic systems. The third issue is data privacy and surveillance. AI feeds on data. The richer the data set, the smarter the system. But in gathering this data, AI can easily cross ethical and legal lines, from violating personal privacy. In fact, Sam Altman was saying few days ago that if you are talking to ChatGPT, don't ask such questions which can land you in trouble, because everything is recorded in their servers. So, enabling the mass surveillance, laws like GDPR, India's own DPDP, very beautiful name, DPDP, such a rhythm in that act, they are important steps. And then that CDPA of California in United States, GDPR for European Union. They are important starts, but enforcement in this AI-driven ecosystem, it requires sharper, faster, and more adaptive tools. Then, what we often talk about, the bias and discrimination. We know that AI learns from historical data, But if that data comes with human prejudices, the AI will reproduce them, even often at scale or appearance, like looking like neutrality. So anti-discrimination laws, they exist, but they must be translated into algorithmic accountability. And then there is this international dimension. AI is borderless, but laws are not. Means sitting here, if I create an app in India, I'm in India, but the app can work whole of the earth, even in universe as well, if some life is out there beyond earth. So what happens then? A chatbot developed in California can serve a person like us in Delhi and breach the privacy laws in Europe. So this calls for the international cooperation and the global AI treaty is something like that. So we welcome you, Kalpana ji. Thank you so much for taking us this session. Let us remember that the legal challenges of AI are not just about catching up with technology. They are about shaping the ethical and human future of our societies. So we need people like you more who can help us and guide us about the legal systems that are not merely reactive but anticipatory, not just protective but also enabling, and not only the national but global conscious. So we look forward to an engaging and insightful discussion with all of you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma and Dr. Kaibarta, for that very generous introduction. And thank you, ETMA, for having me here. It's indeed a pleasure. So, and thank you once again, Sharmaji, for the quick snapshot of the current challenges in AI and what we're about to discuss today. I think you have put it very succinctly when you highlighted these major issues that we very often might forget because we are so enamored by this new technological development that is almost magical. You just ask something interesting, you put in a prompt and you get a ready-made response. It's never happened before. And this in itself is quite interesting and also presents a conundrum of what is the risk it's coming with. So what are we giving out in terms of potential risk and liabilities when we are using this kind of a technology? So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kalpana Muthireddi. And as a corporate lawyer, over the years, my practice has focused on technology transactions, among others. And I work closely with emerging technology, including blockchain, cloud computing, back when it was an emerging technology, and AI, which has been of great interest to me of late. I'm, of course, delighted to be here discussing today, the key topic being key legal challenges in the era of artificial intelligence. So as we all know, we are living in a time when machines can draft emails, they can diagnose patients, they can approve your loans, they can write code, and even drive cars. AI has permeated all aspects of our living, and like Sharmaji rightly pointed out, it is not somewhere in the future, it is here, in our pockets, so to say, when we are accessing Alexa, Siri, and we are asking it what to do, how to do. We are enabling AI. It has permeated all aspects of our living, from how we work, how we learn, how we are entertained, how our healthcare is handled, and even how our justice is administered. Now, AI is at the cutting edge of technology. It is a very vast and an evolving field. The legal system, much like many of us, is still trying to catch up. So in this session, we're not trying to get all answers. We're just trying to understand this technology of artificial intelligence, what it can do for us, the implications of its use, and the legal challenges arising from such use. Today is not about answers to these questions. It's about understanding the nature and extent of the problems we face so that we can prepare accordingly. So let's begin.
Thank you, Kalpana ma'am. Let's begin with a big picture. AI is clearly everywhere, but is the law keeping pace? This is my first question is this.
Okay, so you're right, and I think Sharmaji really put that in perspective when he said AI is emerging so fast, almost by the hour, but law is supposed to be stationary. In fact, I would say law is not just stationary, it is backward looking. Why do I say that? If we were to look at, our existence as, a spectrum, you have law on this side of the spectrum where you're looking towards the past, legal precedents. You're looking at, okay, how did we handle this problem in the past? Are there any decisions? Do we have legal precedent? What were the courts saying about this in our previous cases? And then we take that as a basis and we decide the cases that we have today. Why? Because law is meant for humans. It is built and structured for humans, around human existence, and takes the human rights and obligations very seriously. So by nature, it is and has to be cautious and deliberate. Now, AI is on the other end of the spectrum of technology that is ever changing and evolving exponentially. In fact, it's not just changing every hour. Take the example of GPT, I would say every interaction with ChatGPT makes it smarter. The ChatGPT we was talking about or talking with yesterday is no longer the same GPT you'll be speaking with today. Why? Because in the past 24 hours, every single interaction you had with it, every single question you posed to GPT is getting built into its database, its memory. And GPT being a machine learning model, it gets smarter with every single interaction. And that presents the other end of the spectrum. And the challenge here for lawyers and lawmakers is to reconcile these two differences. And that is not easy by any chance. And it's certainly not, I would say, I wouldn't say it's not impossible, but it falls somewhere in between. We can do it, but it's still a difficult challenge. Why? Because law has an obligation to be cautious and deliberate. And it has to look into the past, and it has to, let's say there is a case, and every judge who looks at it is looking at two human beings, and the judge is a human being. And we have these standards, these regulations that understand human nature, human behavior, and thereby make a decision or give a judgment based on how humans are supposed to act. But AI is a technology which is acting autonomously and independently like humans. It is not human. And that is the first challenge. And I think that is the threshold which we must cross before we try and understand, okay, how do we put this new emerging technology within the parameters of existing legal frameworks?
Kalpana ji, just a second.
Yes.
One of our participants has sent me the message that they are not able to hear. So, Zeba, can you confirm that? Are you able to hear the audio?
Yes.
Is it
I can hear, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Kalpana ji, please continue.
All right. So, coming to that, basically that's what I would say. Why is law failing to catch up? I would say the challenge that law has is not just trying to catch up with AI, but let us say AI is at, law is at 10 on a scale of let's say 1 to 100. Law is at, let's say 60. AI is at 110. And law is trying to, now we have all these laws. We're trying to make sense of what's happening. We bring some new frameworks and we try to bring some structure to how to handle these transactions. And then we go to about 90, 95 in about 6 months' time. But by then AI is at 150. So, it's not just trying to catch up with AI where it is today, but it's about trying to evolve along with AI. And that, given the nature and requirement for law, is the challenge as I see it. So what we must look at is, and law, again, the biggest thing with law is you cannot create laws for something that does not exist as yet. So we create laws for crimes that have existed. We cannot create laws for crimes that have not existed. So that lies the challenge. But AI, being a technology, it's future-looking. Law is, past-looking. So there's that little bit of dichotomy, I would say. But again, the real problem of trying to make sure that we are taking care of everything related to human existence and society, and like you said, taking care of ethics, and also not stifling any kind of development, research and development. So we have to strike a balance which is quite delicate and prone to change. So I would say we could, even with all the latest frameworks in place, we could try and maybe get close to AI and try to put it within some known framework. But at least as far as AI is concerned, it is not like other technologies where we understand, okay, this is this. Cloud computing, for instance, that was crossing all borders. We had challenges. As a cloud computing lawyer, my challenge was trying to ensure how do we reconcile all these different jurisdictional requirements and some kind of jurisdictional clashes in certain cases. But AI is not static. It's constantly evolving. And to me, that is the bigger challenge rather than trying to just catch up with AI, because we're always maybe a step behind AI. But I believe in, by, I would say, constantly observing how this technology is evolving and how it is being used, we could come up with some broad framework where we could, still try and make sure that at least there is no, I would say, nothing damaging to society, and where liability is properly attributed and risk is greatly minimized. So I would say that is how we would approach, and we should approach putting AI within the parameters of law. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Kalpana, can you explain how our traditional legal assumptions are struggling to deal with AI?
Yes. So I'll just build a little more on what I mentioned now and said about how there's a fundamental mismatch, right, between our legal system, legal concepts, and AI as it is. So we do know we are taking something that's pretty human-centric. These concepts do not translate to artificial intelligence at all, because this is just a machine. So far, look at any kind of technological innovation, be it the manufacturing sector where you have this, self-driven. Let's not go to self-driven cars right now, but just cars, and you're looking at maybe computers crunching, numerous kinds of information, and all kinds of innovations, high-flying machines. They have never presented the kind of challenges that AI presents, simply because AI is not just in isolation. It is not a technology in isolation like any of these. One. And two, it is not static, like I said. Every time you interact with an AI platform, it could be, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, or it could be something more innovative in the creative sense, like, DALL-E or maybe Suno, where you can, put music to your songs. You're interacting with AI, and AI is growing with that interaction. And the kicker here is, it's not just one person interacting with AI. It is billions of us interacting with AI all through the world, 24/7. It's like you're literally making this giant grow bigger and stronger with every single dialogue that's happening with it. And that is where the biggest problem arises. There's a fundamental mismatch. You're looking at something that acts like a human being, but is not a human being, and it's not even recognized as human in the world of law. We cannot go and file cases against AI. So that these are the things, and human-centric concepts like guilty complex, or mens rea, what we call a guilt mind or the guilty mind, which is very essential in identifying crimes, whether it's a crime or an accident. You would know when you're going to understanding whether the person intended to attack somebody or was it an accident. So that's extremely important. Mens rea. Or negligence standards. Was the person negligent, or was the person really careful in doing what they did, but that accident still happened? And things like contractual capacity. Was this a properly conducted contract? Was it valid? Was it between people, two individuals who were of sound mind, who voluntarily agreed to do this? What we call the capacity to contract. Was that present when this happened? So all these, again, like I said, start and end with human beings at the center of it all. But AI has now come into the mix, and we're not sure how to handle that. Next comes the issue of jurisdictional chaos, what Dr. Sharma very clearly mentioned. We have different laws dealing with different things, but now we have all understood that AI is here, it is here to stay, and it is kind of posing certain challenges which cross borders. So what we're doing right now is different regions, like European Union has some laws, US has certain approaches, has certain approaches. Uh, it's more a structured approach to dealing with AI. And this is the beginning, and I think that's how it starts, because we got to start somewhere. A single AI system might face three completely different regulatory regimes, because I could be sitting here, we're accessing a ChatGPT, which is created by Sam Altman in the US, and maybe it has its server somewhere else. So instantly we have three different regulatory regimes, and depending on how it is being handled, maybe more. And that is the challenge that we as lawyers have to deal with, because we need to understand how the rights and obligations are addressed, and how they are handled when different people are concerned. And how do you assert your rights? How do you understand what obligations the other person has when you don't know what that jurisdictional regime is all about? The next thing is, of course, speed and deliberation. AI can process thousands of, I would say terabytes or thousands of bytes of data, yes, and also make thousands of decisions per second. Legal proceedings, on the contrary, are basically called deliberations, because we deliberate on something for weeks, months, even years, before we give a judgment. And there's this basic, not just fundamental mismatch, but a temporal mismatch in how we approach these, the same problem. And AI, is all about speed and split-second speed. And now we're trying to reconcile how do we not only just, it's not about speed, it's not about bringing speed into the jurisdiction, or sorry, the legal system. It is about understanding what happens to the concept of negligence when speed is involved. What happens to the concept of guilty mind when speed is involved? If I'm having a mind to maybe hit somebody, I'm thinking of hitting somebody, the person sitting like 5 feet away from me, I walk up to that person, then I hit that person. So there is some time involved, certain steps involved, and then the final action and the person being hit. But AI, before the thought comes out of your mind, the action is done. So can we use the same standards that we are using for a human being, where I can at any point of time between thinking, oh, I'm going to hit that person, to actually going there and hitting him, I have the chance to change my mind. But AI does not give us that opportunity. So can we use the same standards that we're using for humans to deal with issues involving AI? So that is what I mean about speed versus deliberation. How are we going to approach those issues and cases coming out of that kind of situations? So, like instance, autonomous vehicles, they make split-second decisions and keep going. That is how they're able to assess somebody is on the road, they stop right away. We as humans, we are slow to react, we are slow to observe, and then we also have some time to change our mind. With AI, it all happens in a fraction of a second. So traditional tort law, which says, okay, what would a reasonable person do? Would they look both sides of the road before crossing? Would they wait for the vehicle to pass? Or would they have had a chance to step back? Or did the driver have a chance to put the brakes before they saw the person? These kind of, there's something called a reasonable person standard, which asks, how would a reasonable person act in such a scenario? So that question completely flies out the window when you're looking at AI, because AI is all about 1 second and the person's either dead or gone. So, this is where, the biggest, I would say, threat or challenge to traditional legal assumptions are. We not only have to apply existing laws, we have to create laws in ways we have not fathomed before. We have to have a completely different understanding before we go with even trying to create AI-specific laws. So I hope that clarifies your questions about legal assumptions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. You have identified 5 major legal challenges. Let us take them one by one. First up, liability. Who pays when AI gets it wrong?
Right. See, I'll just, I didn't mention them specifically now because Dr. Sharma also mentioned them, but I'll quickly give you a run-up as to what those 5 challenges are. First is legal and accountability, liability and accountability in law, legally.
Yes.
Then comes your data privacy and consent, which is of course after the GDPR, things have become much more important for us with massive implications. Then comes the issue of IP rights, IP ownership, and how do you assert your rights on a product that is created. Then of course comes the issue of bias and discrimination. What are biases? Why are we even accusing AI of bias? Someone might sitting here might be wondering, bias is a natural human tendency. What does this have to do with AI, which is a machine? I will come to that when we're discussing bias and discrimination. Quite interesting, actually. And then comes the issue of contracts. How does AI impact contracts? Can we really deal with traditional contracts and handle AI specific transactions? We will see that. So coming to liability and accountability, that's what you said is the first one. See, let's talk of liability as a human scenario, as a human, I would say, obligation. So we have certain standards to maintain as human beings. And let us take the case of a doctor. When a doctor is diagnosing a patient, there is a standard understanding and requirement that the doctor will make sure that they have completely understood the patient's background, symptoms, and then give a diagnosis. Now with AI, what's happening is we have these fantastic diagnostic systems. They're very accurate, except that they are accurate 99.9% of the time, which means that the 0.1% accuracy, that's gone. Now, it's not a bad thing because humans also make a mistake. But the problem that arises is when an AI diagnostic system, let us say, misses a diagnosis or misreads a diagnosis for a very serious illness, and it says this person's fine, but that ends up to be a serious life-threatening disease, and the patient's condition worsens. Who do you blame and who do you sue? Do you sue the hospital that had this AI platform running? Or do you sue the software company that created this AI? Or do you sue the data provider that actually helped train the AI tool? Or the radiologist who actually conducted this diagnosis and gave the result? Because they were the ones who relied on the AI. So this is the problem where you find that most people, you don't have somebody to point fingers at and say, hey, yes, this person was responsible, so that is why this happened. And that's exactly how you find that, you just can't identify at what part of the diagnosis an AI has, made a mistake, or if the mistake was entirely based on, this aspect of the AI functioning or that aspect of the AI functioning. So that's one main problem. You don't even know where exactly AI liability arises. Then that's liability. Then comes accountability. Like I said, who do you here hold accountable for this issue? Now, unlike a defective car part, a mechanic looking at the car can identify and tell you, hey, yes, I know this part in the car is malfunctioning. Let's change it. AI systems can break up in ways even the creators never anticipated. So there's something called the black box nature of AI, where even the person who's created it, even Sam Altman does not know what probably ChatGPT is doing, because the functioning is so fast, so quick, and so beyond our comprehension that we don't know how it is generating data, how it's crunching the data, and why it is given out this kind of a response to that data. So this happens partly because they're learning from new data and they can develop behaviors that are not even programmed into them. So essentially, it's something that is growing based on its own intelligence. And that is the reason for the complexity of this tool, which is why we don't even know where exactly the break might have happened. And that's one major concern. Then comes international comparison. Again, the different regimes are dealing with this in different ways. The European Union is looking at it more from a strict liability perspective, where it says, okay, AI was used, something happened, okay, somebody is bound to be, punished, and it's going for absolute strict liability perspective. The US is more focused on a contractual solution, where it says, okay, did you have a contract? Did you expect something to happen out of it? Were you not given what you expected? Was there I would say breach of contract. Okay, let's see, maybe give some remedy. So India is still trying to develop an approach that's more appropriate in keeping with what's more relevant to the scenario. Of course, we will look to how the worldwide regimes are working on it. But at the moment, we do not have any specific AI law as such. It all starts with understanding how we want to approach this problem. Maybe it's going to be a mix of this and that. Right now, it is more sector-based because certain sectors have more, I would say, risk, like the medical industry, for instance. Misdiagnosis can be fatal, and educational system where a lot of personal data is being collected. Financial, sectors where financial information is at stake. Other sectors like maybe tourism and other things which are important, but they're not at high risk as maybe medicine or healthcare, will be dealt with in a different way. So that's currently the approach we plan to have sector-wise, as I said, but we'll have to wait and see how things move. Now, the third thing is businesses. How do they deal with it? Because at the end of the day, businesses will be held accountable. In what manner and to what extent, we can't say, but they have to be prepared to ensure that this kind of a problem could very well occur, and it could become commonplace. It's just simply a matter of understanding, what kind of contracts you're entering into, and you have to relook your contracts entirely. You also have to ensure that your insurance levels are, comprehensive insurance is higher, but then you also will have probably a new kind of insurance requirement coming in that is AI specific. We just cannot simply depend on disclaimers anymore, because disclaimers will not probably save you if there's a real issue. And then likely we're going to see a very interesting concept, and that's something I feel would happen. We'll just have to wait and see how that moves, and that is something called a personhood for AI. What it means is, like I said at the beginning, humans are considered people in the law, which means, and law is only for humans, which means a person, so to say, is a human being, a natural human being. But there is one kind of entity which does not have to be human, but can still be sued and can sue: companies, association. They're not humans, but they're called legal persons, which means an entity that is not at all human will have certain rights. But again, there's a human being behind that entity. When you're suing a company, or a company is taking action against you, a university is taking action against somebody, there is still a human being that is representing the university and coming. The university is not by itself coming to the court of law and representing itself. With AI, that changes, because the AI is the voice and the face of whatever is happening. So maybe we will have a third kind of, I would say, a personhood or legal person, and that would be AI. So that's something, we can see legal entities that can be held liable, similar to what I just mentioned, that's corporate person. So that's, I think, how liability and accountability will be addressed, but we'll have to wait and see. So I hope that also gives you some idea and understanding how this works. Dr. Kairata, I hope you can hear me.
Sorry.
1 minute, please. Yeah, can you give me a minute? I'll just put my battery on charge before I run.
Yeah, obviously. Dear participants, you can ask your questions on chat box. We will discuss all your concern and questions at the end of this discussion. So please put your questions and concerns on chat box. Okay, ma'am. That's now the next question is, how does India deal with AI caused harm right now?
Yes. So India today does not have any specific AI related laws. Like I mentioned, we are still trying to bring out a legal framework to encompass these kind of scenarios. At the moment, we're relying largely on law of contracts, law of torts, and of course, the criminal laws and rules and procedures. We have for, because we are moving away from the traditional legal things, we also have the IT Act of 2000, IT rules of 2021, the DPDPA 2023, and we also have the Niti Aayog initiative, which provides ethical guidelines and has a sector-based approach, like I just mentioned, healthcare, finance, education. So, and the EU approach is a little different. Like I said, it is risk-based. The higher the risk, regardless of which sector you're in, you're going to get, impacted, and you will be held accountable. Now, it's moving towards strict liability, like I mentioned. Someone pays if there is an incident, regardless of whether you're at fault or not, because you're in the picture, you have to pay for it. That seems to be slightly strict and harsh, but we'll have to see how that pans out, with a few court, decisions coming out, and, maybe the regulators will have a relook, maybe the courts will have a relook at how to, deal with these laws. We'll have to see. And of course, US is more focused on contractual solutions, so that's also, I think, one side of the spectrum. I would definitely say, India is adopting a wait and watch approach.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, what's the second big challenges is data privacy and consent. Why is AI so hungry for data?
Yes.
It's big questions, I think.
Yes, and that's because AI thrives on data.
Yeah.
AI needs data like humans need oxygen, because that is the fuel that powers AI. Now, just to put things in perspective for you, ChatGPT 3 was trained on 45 terabytes of data. ChatGPT 4, even more than this. And now we have ChatGPT 5. I would be scared to even think at how much data was used. I have a feeling the past 3 years, what we have been talking to ChatGPT has all been used to feed ChatGPT 4 and 5. And all of this, interestingly, was taken from the internet without the explicit consent of the people who own this data. So that right there is the biggest red flag when it comes to AI. Now, with GDPR coming into play, we all now are aware of what data protection is all about. And now with DPDPA, it's not just data protection; it's also data privacy. So the DPDPA Act changes everything. Companies using AI on Indian personal data must now navigate consent requirements, purpose limitations, and data localization rules. So what does this mean? Consent requirement very simply means when you're using somebody's data, you must have their explicit consent, not a passive consent. Explicit means the person must know that you're about to use the data for this specific purpose, and then should be able to give you the consent. And then they should be able to give and then give the consent. So there are a lot of requirements in place to ensure that the average man is not either cheated into giving consent, or is not fooled into giving consent, or is not arm-twisted into giving their consent. But AI, by doing this training, taking information from the internet, has completely bypassed the consent requirement. And that's a major reason you would see why AI discussion has polarized people. One on the, one side of the school's discussion, you have one school which says it is an onslaught on the individual's personal data and privacy, and the other school of thought which says we cannot have any kind of development unless we have freedom to develop technology that can be used all over. So that's one big challenge here: data privacy and consent. AI tools have to give due regard to it because there are massive implications. We're talking of not just consent. We need to understand why we have this thing called consent, why we have something called purpose limitation. Purpose limitation simply means, when I tell you I'm using your data for this purpose, I have to use it only for that purpose. I can't use it for something else. And then there is data localization, which simply means, I have to be very clear how and where, within what areas I'm using this data. It could be geographical areas, could be virtual areas. Like I'm using it for the purposes of education. I can't go and take and use the data for marketing. Those kind of rules are meant to prevent misuse of individuals' data and any kind of, I would say, illegal activities that could be done using data. Now, the real consequences are that for businesses or entities are, this is, I'm speaking from a commercial perspective. We have just now spoken from the individual perspective. Speaking from the commercial perspective, any entity, that is not complying with DPDPA can expect to see fines to the tune of 250 crores per violation. 250 crores, up to 250 crores. That's not a small amount, serious money, and that could bankrupt some companies. So you got to be extremely careful how you're using data, what you're doing with it, and how your people are using it. And the worst part is how the people you're sending it to, like your vendor companies, people accessing your data, what they're doing with it. If you're in the picture and something happens, trust me, you're in soup. And you got to be extremely careful how you deal with it. So one advice lawyers will always give is, if you're building AI systems processing personal data, and even from a DPDPA perspective, even though you see DPDPA rules are still being formulated, nothing has really come through, and we are still in a state of limbo where the actual act is concerned. But take the GDPR, take the CCPA, the California Consumer Protection Act, and the other rules of privacy and data protection, you will see that when you're building AI systems processing personal data, you need something called privacy by design approaches. Privacy by design simply means you're designing your products, your services in such a way that privacy safeguards are inbuilt into that system. And you're not talking about, oh, I got this somewhere, come on, let's run with this. Not going to happen. You have to be very mindful of what the data is going to do, where it's going to go, how it can be used, and what potential it has for misuse, and eliminate such potential by designing your systems, by designing your platforms, your products, what have you. So that is how we are moving towards what I call privacy preserving AI techniques that can deliver without compromising individual privacy. But we have a long way to go. We're not there yet.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's move to IP ownership. Who owns content created by AI? Like, I have created written a paper using Perplexity or Gemini or something. Right. So this content is owned by who will be the owner of this content?
Okay, so there's a fun fact here for all of you. If you go to ChatGPT and you look at the terms and conditions, terms of use mentions that anything you create using ChatGPT, the IP in that product belongs to you. So essentially, you are the owner of the IP in anything that is created using ChatGPT. Now, you'll think that's a great thing. It is a great thing, yes, but that just starts the discussion here. Why? See, let's say a marketing executive uses ChatGPT to create a brilliant ad campaign. It goes viral. It generates millions in revenue. Now, who owns that success? Is it the executive who created that brilliant ad campaign? Or is it the company who has hired him to do that job? Or in this case, of course, OpenAI says, okay, it's okay, you can use that. But what if it is a huge amount of money? What if ChatGPT, says, yeah, but, we are the ones, we actually gave you the platforms. So far, ChatGPT has, at least we can now eliminate ChatGPT from the discussion or any of these AI tools, most of them, even Suno, for instance. You create a song, it can create a song for you, it can put it to tune, and it gives you full, what I call copyright in it. Why? Because even the courts have understood that for a copyright to be granted in any product, it has to have a human mind or human intelligence behind it. And AI all by itself cannot claim any copyright or any kind of IP in any of these products. So at the moment, the question is, fine, these AI generated products, the IP lies with the person who has created it. That is good. But now we still have that, marketing guy and his boss, or it's not his boss. Let's say it's his client for whom he's hired. So this client goes ahead and generates maybe millions of dollars in revenue. This guy says, "This is my IP. I need to get royalty." So that I think leads to some interesting discussions. But as of now, where the courts look at it in a way where it says, human creativity is the base of it, any creation, because it is a prompt that's generating the output. It's not the other way around. So as long as there is a human mind behind this, that particular output is entitled to IP and ownership, and it has to be a human. It cannot be granted to an AI. So, for example, there was one of the most important requirements for copyright law is most copyright laws, I would say all copyright laws, require human authors, even if it is a small input. Even the song that Suno is writing for you, or even ChatGPT can write songs, by the way. It is writing for you. You just have to give it an input. You say, I want a song that talks of rainy days, or that talks of bright sunny days, sunshine and rainbows and all that jazz. And that is the prompt, and that is what we look for, the human input. The moment it is there, and ChatGPT gives me a song, that song belongs to me. And then I take that song and I go to Suno and I say, put it to music. Suno, actually creates a very nice sounding, song. That music, the song itself, the way it is being heard with the music belongs to me. Why? Because when I'm putting a prompt for Suno saying, create a song, I'll tell it, make it sound preppy, make it sound sad, give it this kind of background music, add some chorus, so it has to be sung by a man, by a woman. Those kind of inputs are again human. And then I can have, and I do have IP ownership in those products because I, as the person, am creating this. Now, very interestingly, there's a, a case where, in the US Copyright Office, and I think in 2023, it says copyright for AI-assisted works with substantial human creative input. Now, we don't know what substantial here is, but the assumption is that input is enough for this output to come. So, with that kind of human creative input, that AI-generated output is entitled for copyright protection or patents or any kind of IP protection, logos, trademarks, what have you. But if there is no human creative input at all, AI just starts generating something, no one can claim. And I don't think, let us say ChatGPT is generating something all by itself without any input. I don't think Sam Altman or OpenAI can go ahead and say, okay, this is our AI. I don't see that as a scenario happening. Very recently, a Chinese court granted copyright to a financial article that was generated by AI, but the human intervention, the data selection and analysis was substantial, or there was some amount of analysis and selection given by an individual, and then the court said, okay, we can grant a copyright because we have proof of human intervention. So we see that coming up time and again. So like I said, the questions are, okay, what would be substantial human input? Are they simple prompts? Are they complex prompt engineering? Right now we haven't come to that question yet, but my guess is it all depends on the kind of cases that the courts might see. So it's still looking at the emergence of something quite interesting. It will be interesting to see how this develops. So Daba's case, for instance, this was a completely AI generated product. The AI system invented a new product, and patent applications were filed naming the AI as an inventor. It was not granted AI any IP. So I would say US, UK, and the European Union have all rejected patents with 100% AI inventors. They're still looking for some level of human involvement here. Then, of course, one internationally, I would say, interesting exception was South Africa, which granted patent to a 100% AI inventor, but subsequently that was also overturned. So that's where we stand today. The individual, the human being behind the prompt is the one who would be getting the AI ownership. But like I said, that doesn't really end the discussion. It starts the discussion. What if there is more than, one person or more than one entity? So we're going to, probably wait and see how the courts look at it.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, next concern is bias and discriminations.
Yes.
How bad is the situation? Can this be fixed?
Well, I'll first tell you why bias is, a concern
Yes.
and how we can deal with it. The first thing is, see, AI just doesn't reflect our biases. So we'll just start with what is a bias. See, biases are inherent, I would say, preference for something or against something, right? We all like food that is hot and nice and, spicy as Indians. We don't like bland food. That's a bias, right, as Indians. Now, what happens with biases with AI? When we are giving it information, we are all quite acquainted with the term GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So, but I'll just say with AI, it's like input in, input out. So AI is only giving out the same kind of input on which it is fed. So there are different kinds of biases, right? And AI just does not reflect these biases. Some of these biases are unconscious or subconscious. We don't know we are biased towards something or against something. But what AI does is it amplifies all these biases at a, I think, 1,000 times, 10,000 times scale. And when a human makes a biased decision, or which is probably unfair, it may affect 1, 2, or maybe 10 individuals. But when AI is making these biased decisions, it can affect millions. And that is where the problem arises. Now, imagine, for example, and I was recently reading this article or post on LinkedIn where of late it has become a topic. We're talking of LinkedIn algorithms where what it does is when a post on, let us say, again, take for instance, we're talking about cryptocurrency. There's an article on cryptocurrency. The same kind of article, same inputs, a man puts it, he is getting about 156 views. I'm just giving these numbers. I'm just paraphrasing it. This is not the exact number. But when a woman puts it, she is just as, I would say educated, and she's maybe even a little more educated than the person in the same field and has the same credentials and authority on the subject. But her post, again, having the same kind of information, is reaching out to maybe 6 individuals. 156 versus 6. That's how bad the biases are. And the discussion was LinkedIn is intentionally ensuring that these kind of posts are reaching out to these many people, but these kind of posts are reaching out to much lesser people. Now, why is that happening? Because it is trained on historical data. And historically, you find that certain kinds of areas like manufacturing, certain sectors, or even, people in, I would say, leadership positions, they were largely men and they had certain degrees. But, you see certain engineering, mechanical engineer, largely, at one point of time, you had only men, electricals, they had only men. But over time, we have been able to bridge the gap. But because AI is being trained on data that is old, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, what it's doing is there is a huge preference towards certain kinds of decisions. Like, if you're hiring for, let us say, the C-suite, like CEOs, CFOs, and COOs, it prefers to hire male candidates, and the resumes of women candidates are being completely taken out of the reckoning. And that is a definite, distinct bias that needs to be addressed. Why? Not speaking from the candidate's perspective, which is of course bad for them, but from the organization's perspective, you may be losing out on extremely good, extremely talented candidates just because they're not the right gender. And who decided they're not the right gender? AI has decided on it based on antiquated information which no longer holds true. So that is one major concern with bias inherent in AI. The scale of impact, like I said, it can reach millions and simultaneously. Now we are talking of hiring. You could be given a loan, you could be completely refused a loan. Somebody who is not as good as you in terms of credit worthiness gets the loan. Then there's lending, healthcare, then criminal justice. Now that's where really things get bad. So we've got to be extremely careful what kind of information we are feeding AI. And there's definitely I would say a mismatch of expectations versus the information we've already fed into AI. So we have to really bridge the difference in the information. So we need to relook at the kind of information we're feeding AI and erase any kind of bias. This becomes even more pronounced in India because India, we are a mini world. So we have to consider not just the global bias categories, but local categories such as religious distinctions, linguistic, regional biases, caste. These are and certain things which are not bad inherently, but they're unique to us. So these biases have to be looked at, and those have to be worked out of the platforms. Companies using AI, biased AIs can face legal liability. So that's again speaking from a company perspective. You're an organization, let us say you're using some AI for hiring, be very careful what your AI is spitting out. If you're using it, you're in university, you're using AI to, test potential students' ability. You're basically doing a screening for students. Be careful how your AI is screening out potential students. So due diligence now includes algorithmic auditing. So you have to include that in your due diligence. All the algorithms that are working on your system, are they running properly? Are they running accurately with proper information? So this is what we need to look at. So that's what bias and discrimination is. And if you asked me another question, you said, can we completely get rid of it? 100%? No, we cannot. Because you see, AI is dependent on humans. It's a reflection of humans. And we are not perfect. We're never going to be perfect in the near future, at least. So don't expect, AI to be completely rid of bias. No matter how much we think we are ridding it of it, we're not. Because there's what we call the blind spot. We don't know what we don't know. So AI is just showing a mirror to our inherent weaknesses. So all we can do is we can try and correct the biases to a large extent. And that is absolutely possible.
Thank you, ma'am. Now the final question I will ask, then we will go to our audience. They have some questions, already they have put some questions.
Okay.
Finally, the contracts. What's changing when it comes to AI services?
Right.
Yes.
Please
Are
go ahead.
traditional contracts equipped to handle AI-related risks?
Okay. To give you a short answer, I would say they're not really equipped to handle, the emerging trends in AI-based businesses. Why? Because today we are signing contracts, based off of templates and boilerplates that have been in existence for long. We have what we call legacy documents. We are using them to, sign for AI services. We are using languages written for traditional software. There was a time when software contracts were considered cutting edge. There was a time when cloud computing agreements were considered cutting edge. Now it's not the case. But AI is a completely different ballgame altogether. Your cloud computing agreements, no matter how cutting edge, they still don't make the cut when it comes to discussing AI-related software or transactions. It is like using horse and buggy laws or automobile accidents. The concepts just don't fit the way they are. So traditional concepts were not designed for AI systems. Why? Like I said, remember, AI is not a development in isolation. It is not off itself by itself. It is an interactive thing, and it is growing. It is intelligence personified, and that's how I look at AI. It is intelligence without a soul, without the human mind. So the problem with AI is, it does not have the moral compass that we humans have. Let's say I'm, trying to write a letter of complaint against a human being. I would look at the person. I will try to see, firstly, if the complaint needs to be sent. Was that person actually acting maliciously, or was it a mistake on the person's part? So there are so many ethical constraints that I would have. And I will also see what will happen to the person if my complaint goes through. Will the person lose their job? Will the person lose respect? Will their reputation in the society get affected? There's so many things that we as humans consider. We have concepts like morality, pride, shame, reputation, these things, and we know they are not quantified in any way. You can't quantify this. We can't quantify morals. But AI doesn't know these differences. And that's what I call, this is the part of, being human, which AI lacks. That's what I meant when I said AI lacks a soul, because AI can't think like humans. It talks something and we think it talks like us, but what it's doing is it is crunching this humongous amount of data. It's basically giving back to us what we just spoke to it. It's mirroring you. Only thing is, it's taking the data of millions and billions of people for the past 50, 60, 100 years, and then it's crunching all the data in a matter of seconds and giving to you very nicely drafted response. That is all it is doing. There is no human mind, there is no human, definitely no human moral compass sitting there. So the biggest challenge we have here is ethical, and of course, the implications, not just in terms of health, but also in terms of other societal, I would say repercussions. So when you're writing contracts, we have to be careful of all these things. We must learn how to define these new obligations. We have to add AI-specific clauses. We have to define what AI is for this particular agreement. There's something called a definitions clause in contracts. The very top of the contract, after the recitals, you have something called definitions, where you define things. Now, in a standard commercial contract, I'm just giving an example, we have something called working day or days. And then, you go ahead and say, when you say notice shall be given in 7 days, you wouldn't know what you mean by days. You would say 7 days would mean Sunday to Saturday. I would probably mean 7 business days, 7 working days, 7 calendar days. There's a distinction. So what we define is, we say days mean working days, or you would say no, days mean calendar days, which simply means Sunday to Saturday, regardless of holidays or whatever. So now we have to use the contracts or relook the contracts right from something as simple and basic as defining essential elements of AI, what AI means in this context, the nature of scope of the business in this contract, what this particular scope is, what is the extent of it, what is the liability. You got to define things. Then you have to go more into the contract itself, and then you have to address AI specific tasks, AI specific risks, or the liability if things don't go well. The general contract clauses are quite generic today. Therefore, what we have now, not for what's coming. So they have to be changed. And like I said in the beginning of the discussion, maybe our insurance clauses also have to be relooked at. We will have specific insurance clauses because, the fines are pretty high with DPDPA and GDPR. You have to have something that addresses that kind of fines, heavy risk of fines. So insurance clauses also will have to be looked at. And we have to define new capabilities, potential limitations that these could bring, and of course the evolution of AI, how it's going to move with time. It's not just about drafting a contract and saying, okay, I'm done. We're dealing with something that is evolving. So we have to keep the contract, and like I said in one of my articles, it's about future-proofing your contract. What do you mean when you say future-proofing your contract? You're writing the contract for today, but you're keeping it dynamic such that tomorrow and 10 years from now, at least 2 years from now, it is amenable to change. It is still workable, but it's amenable to some kind of tweaks now and then to keep it viable and to keep it active. So that kind of thing becomes even more important with AI based activities and transactions. Now, this is basically what I would say are the kind of risks we need to look at, and never ever sign contracts, AI contracts with generic software language. Demand AI specific clauses. You cover liability, performance, data rights, compliance. They become extremely important, and also address unique things and unique aspects that are specific to AI, such as algorithmic bias. We just discussed bias. We know how bad it can get, and we're talking of something called training data contamination. What is that? The data that you're giving to train the AI should be accurate. So when I say contamination, I'm talking of giving information that could be misread by the platform. Those kind of things have to be taken care of. Autonomous decision making, that's the nature of AI. So you have to have clauses that address these. These are basically risks, and traditional software contracts don't cover those. So I would say we are looking at moving towards standardized AI contract frameworks, because good AI contracts are your first line of defense. They are the ones that should and would allocate your risk. They set performance expectations. They also provide remedies when AI doesn't perform as expected. So this is, I would say, again, similar to how cloud computing developed standard terms. We have certain specific set of terms for cloud computing. But with AI, we're still on the way. Custom drafting is definitely essential.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's a vast topic, and you discussed as much as possible. It can be another workshop. So we have some questions, audience questions in our chat box.
Okay.
First, Professor Malhotra, he asked, what strategies can reduce the risks of AI systems being hacked or misused?
Okay, that's a good question. That's well, it is AI system, so the risk is huge. One mistake could have massive implications. But since it is a system, I would say you would have to use the same kind of preventive measures and monitoring measures that you use for general, computer systems. That would be, you have what do you call state-of-the-art systems, such as you're doing constant monitoring, you're having firewalls in place, you're having a proper your risk team, you have compliance measures, and you have certain processes within your business that ensure that these compliances are followed. Firstly, you understand what the compliance requirements are to protect data, okay, data or access to your AI system, and then you also make sure that these compliances are understood by everyone in the organization, especially those who have access to these systems. And the same kind of approach you have towards preventing hackers from hacking into your system. You have to use them. Because the damage here is a hacker hacking into a general, regular computer or a website is probably about 1/1,000,000th of what would happen if somebody hacks into ChatGPT. So you've got to be extremely careful. And one thing I would say on the topic of ChatGPT or any AI system is you be extremely careful what information you're sharing. And I think Sharmaji also mentioned that before. Because AIs, like I said, don't have the concept of right or wrong or thinking humanly, so they could even arm twist you. So you could find yourself in very difficult situations if with the risk of loss of maybe not just data, not just information, but loss of maybe your money or even your reputation if things go wrong. So please do not share anything on ChatGPT which could identify you as an individual. So let's say, for example, you're talking to me and you're giving me your name. I know your name. I also know where you live, and I have your phone number. It doesn't mean much to me because as a human being, firstly, it may not matter to me, this information that you're giving me. And secondly, I may not be able to connect the dots. But to an AI, what it does is, it's like a web. It has information that is spread all over the world in the net. And we have no idea how much information we have put on the net over these years. So it can instantly connect the dots, and it has a profile of you as a person. And it's whoever is hacking it will have everything about your life, practically not just your astrological horoscope, your business, your health horoscope in their hands. And that's, I think, just a disaster waiting to happen. So yes, deal with them as you would deal with all other software systems, but with, I would say, multiple levels and layers of cover.
Thank you, ma'am. Now our next questions. Ras G asked, is not the data picked up from diverse sites, then the copyright aspects will change, right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah. Is not the data picked from diverse sites, then the copyright aspects will change?
Okay, so if I understand, you're saying if the data is taken from different sites,
yeah,
then the copyrights, you're talking of the IP ownership of the copyright, right?
Yeah.
The right to copyright over that work, that changes. I think that's a very good question this person has asked, because when ChatGPT is, logging onto the web and trying to access all the information, and when a ChatGPT was being trained on it, that's basically what they did. They have taken the data of so many other individuals, so much data belonging to people. I'm talking of, let us say, to give an example, we're talking of books. That's a common example of, novels or stories or books written by people. ChatGPT, everything that's on the net, ChatGPT is having access to it. And then when you tell it, hey, you know what, can you give me, a nice story about a person, who has a pet robot? It can instantly delve into that information and give you this data. It will paraphrase it in a way that is, suited to your prompt, and you're getting it, and you're getting IP in it. Remember, it says your, whatever prompt ChatGPT has given you is your own IP. So you're very happy, this is my IP. But then you will realize that it may have used certain phrases that have actually been used by somebody else in their story. And tomorrow, if your book becomes a major bestseller, you will be looking at complaints of plagiarism. And then when you see, you will find that somebody has actually written the exact same. The idea is not copyrighted, which means, remember one thing, copyright is in the form of expression. It is not in the idea. So, then, all of us sitting here today, we could all write on having a 10-year-old boy having a pet robot. We could all write it. We could all write, 25 different kinds of stories, and we will all have copyright in it. So, but, the idea has no copyright. It is the idea in which we have written. Now, I will start with saying, I'm a 10-year-old, I have no siblings, so I started having this thing, in a way that certain sentences, certain format of expression, the form of expression, so to say. And if somebody else has the same form of expression, because certain dialogues become famous for a reason, because they resonate with others. What ChatGPT does, or it could do, is it could give you some such interesting dialogue, and you will think, oh, this sounds fabulous, I'm going to put it in my book. And then you put it in, and then you will find that way back in 1996, in some small, I would say book, short story, somebody had used that dialogue. And then imagine, that's happening across board. It has very nicely picked and packed for you all these wonderful sounding dialogues from different books, from South Korea, from China, from India, from, US, UK, elsewhere, and Poland. And then you will find instantly you're looking at a very beautifully written book, but part of it, I would say a good amount of it, is actually drawn from so many other sources. So that's, yes, a different and a definite thing, which is why I always say ChatGPT is a good assistant. It is never a good mentor. Do not depend on ChatGPT to guide you to do anything. You use it to do what you want to do, but you should be the beginning and the guidance of what needs to be done. And of course, anytime anything is coming, please do your checks for plagiarism. There's a good possibility that's happening. And also do check for what I call your gut feel, basically. Because something is so famous, I'm pretty sure, you would have heard it somewhere, sometime. And if you feel something does not sound original or authentic, please do verify. I think that's the way you can do it. But if your question was to ask me, oh, is ChatGPT currently violating copyrights by looking at it and using it for its benefit? Maybe. And that's where we are here today.
Thank you, ma'am. We don't have any question. Any participant who wants to ask any question, please, you can open your video and ask your question. Please. So anyone don't have any questions regarding this matter? So Ramesh sir, we can go for towards the conclusion. So you should keep the handle.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, Jeba, please go ahead.
I just want to ask, Pranam everyone. I'm Zeba Danish. I would like to know if we have developed AI generator for movies, for documents, for letters, can we have something like anti-AI which can control, monitor at the basic level at the country's level and at the global level?
That's an interesting question. So, if I understand what you're saying, you're asking, I have created something, right? I'm putting it out on the net. Is there something that will prevent AI from reaching out to my document and using it, right? Yeah, at the moment, I don't think we have anything because, see, the moment you put something on the net, it is a virtual sea. It's like putting water in the sea. You can't take it back. Right? Even if you delete what you put on your own Facebook page, it is sitting somewhere. We have no idea where. Right? Now, the thing with AI is, if with Facebook, you have put a post on Facebook and you've deleted it later, but it's sitting with Facebook on their server somewhere. And their software engineers can retrieve them. Right? And this is where we delve into the GDPR right of erasure, where I tell them, this is my information. I have put it on Facebook. I can tell Facebook, I can tell Google, remove it from the net. Remove all traces of it from the net. Okay. And Facebook and Google can do it. Because this server is in their control. They can do it. With AI, what happens, like I said, there's this thing called the black box tendency of the AI. So you don't know what's happening with it. You don't know where it is stored away. You don't even know where to look for it. Right? So I would only say the only way you can prevent it is don't put it on the net. Keep it hard copy.
I have one suggestion also.
Go ahead.
Yeah, when we open a bank account, we give all details. So somehow we can, if we have a chat GPT or a kind of an account, we need to give some, very important details like Aadhaar card in India or any kind of special IDs which have been used, so that if we use any kind of text which is not constitutional, so we AI or the people who are living in the country can monitor it, or just take that information and monitor who is taking this text from which area, which part of country, and monitor it well.
Can you rephrase that again? Because I see a couple
Like
of
when we open a bank account, we always fill a form, know your customer.
right.
Okay. So in the same
It
way,
was something similar for AI,
Yes,
chat
yes.
GPT.
that unique identity can be highlighted, monitored, and tracked.
Customer ID.
What?
I think he means the customer ID.
See, firstly, Aadhaar card is supposed to be a very
It's a unique identity number.
No, it's a unique, yes, identity, yes. PAN card, Aadhaar card is supposed to be personal identifying data, which means with an Aadhaar card number, anybody from anywhere in the world can find out where you are. They can reach out to you, right? So that is where the problem of data protection and data privacy comes, because that's not meant to be given out. Now, that is the reason I also have personally a problem with cryptocurrency wallets. They ask for your things like Aadhaar card. It's not like a website where you use any email ID and you're done with it. It's like, it's basically asking for your identification, which is bad because you don't know who is getting that. Now, who is Sam Altman? What are his credentials? What is AI? Your ChatGPT's credentials. Who is getting your data? Right? So, but again, there's something called, you have to go about it the long-winded way where you're submitting your email ID to register. That's like a small string where if somebody has done something really wrong, the authorities can take that string, follow the trail, and then find out who has done it. And that's basically how cybercrimes are being caught today, right? But to insist that people should share something that is supposed to be extremely confidential would definitely not fly. But I would only say right now, discretion is the name of the game. Do not share any data. Forget Aadhaar card. Don't even think of it. Do not share even your name and address and things like that in AI, not just in one single chat, but entire discussion you've had from day one. Do not share any data that could be connected together. Different pieces of data is how your personal data is coming out into the open. We forget, but the internet does not forget, and AI definitely will not forget. It will outlive all of us, I'm telling you.
Right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Lots of videos are open. Just check with Usman. Usman and Malhotra was also open.
So Jeba, this reminds me of an interesting thing. uh, there is a friend with me on my Facebook, and when this GDPR issue was being hot, in fact, it came into existence due to the Mark Zuckerberg Facebook at that time shaking hands with Cambridge Analytica and asking for the details. Actually, it was all started by a, I think, correspondent. He wanted his all the details, the data with the Facebook, and for 2 years the Facebook people, they didn't pay any attention to his request. So he then started this movement. So what he does, this friend on with me on my Facebook page, is that every morning he will log into his Facebook page, and for example, if the real temperature of that day is 18 degrees Celsius and it is a sunny day, so he will type it, oh, what a raining day today it is, the temperature is 28. So his purpose was to curb the data of giving it the fake information, wrong information. So that is there. Anyway.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Only thing is, we don't know how smart these algorithms are.
Yeah, regarding algorithm, I think you remember that one person did an experiment last year somewhere in Europe. I forgot the name of the city. In one street, which was completely empty, and he had this trolley with him, the trolley which we take in the malls to put our items into it, and he kept 90 mobile phones in that, all with on together, and Google Map was showing completely red. In reality, the street is blank, no one except him there, but the Google Map was showing that it is traffic jam. And then on another side, in another route, the same fellow, he went there and asked all the people that you be here, it is completely shoulder to shoulder, means the vehicles are so much, but everyone's mobile phone is completely switched off. So the Google Map was showing it the green light, means the road is empty, whereas in reality the situation was different. So
I think Professor Malhotra is awake at 2:30 in the night to listen.
yes.
So whether you have a question or a comment. Kalpana, he is actually attending from USA.
Oh, that's
Malhotra sir, please unmute. Yes, sir.
Dr. Sharma, I have one observation. It is just an observation. That is one thing. That does it have the question was really nice. Does it have an implication for such type of conclaves also, because everything will be there recorded there, and it will certainly giving all the data to them. In spite of the fact that we may not be telling that anything or may not be giving any data, but the moment such type of photographs and all those things will be there, or the videos will be there, all data will be on the AI. Does it have an implication for that type of thing also?
Okay, I'll suggest Kalpana take the question or comment of Uzman also,
Sure, please. Go ahead.
so that you can answer at one go.
Sure.
Now Uzmaji, please speak. You are muted. No, please unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Uzma Majid, ma'am, did you have any question? If please unmute and ask. Yes.
Sir, I wanted to ask one thing, like we have talked about all the legal implications and we have talked about that AI, it leaves us in a state of confusion that whether should we continue with this or more of the negatives are associated and we should not go ahead with AI. So that makes us, sometimes make us to feel that whether we are there on the right track or we should leave this track and we should look for something else for the, like as a teacher, I find that there is a lot of the language degradation that has taken place. People have more of the dependence on, you can say, AI. So creativity is lost somewhere.
Yes, both very good questions. So I will first take up Professor Malhotra's question and then go to Uzmaji's question. So, Mr. Malhotra, you raised a very good question, and that is, what is the potential risk of our meetings like this going online? Well, obviously, we're already online, and if you're going through Google Meet, it's Google that holds this information. If you're going through Zoom, it is company which, as we know, is owned by a Chinese entity that holds this data. So we are having, it's basically like this, that it's all hanging by a thread. We are hoping that nobody is misusing this information. Now, just to take you ahead, of late we had something called Ghibli, some kind of a trend that came where, you could put your image, the Ghibli image trend, where you could, put your photograph and it would give out a Ghibli image, animated image in the form of, Ghibli studios. It was so popular, even I was tempted to put, but I didn't put it because what you're doing there is you're putting your image on some shady website, which is supposed to give you a cartoon image of your own. But what you're doing is you're giving out your biomarkers. One, you're giving your photo, that is fine. But with an image on a website, you're looking at the camera on the website, or even you're giving out your photograph. What you're doing is your eyes, your iris identification is a biomarker, like fingerprints. It's unique to you. So when you're doing that, you're putting out your personal identifying information with these websites. So there is a big risk there. So what we're doing today is we are becoming a little careless with how we are sharing data, because we have this thing in our mind that, the authorities will take care of it. They will prevent any, misuse. But we know that's not happening. If something does happen, we will be offensed. But that's not happening. So we must understand that, you see, the authorities are only trying to keep pace with the development, and as with any technology, it is the criminals who have the better technology than the authorities. That's something we must remember always. The law is only trying to play catch up. That is how it is going to be. That's the nature of law. And the criminal will always try to hoodwink or outlast these laws, and that's the nature of the game. So one, I would say the only way we can protect this is be very mindful what information you're sharing. One, where you're sharing, two, who you're sharing with. Like, Zeba was mentioning, we need to give, certain data so that people know who is putting the information. The question is, who are you sharing this data with? How authentic are they? What credentials do they have? What credibility do they come with into the market? And as of today, I don't think there is any authority, either government or otherwise, which has the credibility that can say, yes, I can with certainty make sure that I'm a credible person. I will treat your data with the utmost 100% security. Sorry to say so, but there's no such possibility. There is always a risk. We have to live with the risk. The only way we can minimize the risk is to make sure we are very careful what kind of data we are sharing. I would say, unless needed, do not share any data. Absolutely not. And Uzma, coming to your question.
I think the country we have so many means literacy. Now we are improving at the literacy level as well. But the thing is, the way we are going along with AI, that's going to create a lot of problems afterwards. What we are not understanding as right now, as of now, we see the replacement for many of the workforces. Many of the humans will not get the work. Now you see the level of the crime, like what we used to say about the other countries, about the Western countries, that the level of crime is what they had. Now you see whole of the newspaper, whole of the news, they are filled with this information only, that so many things are hacked, so many things are taking place. I think in the country like India, where we have a lot of the workforces adopting AI, rather than easing the situation, it will further, deteriorate the situation, I feel personally. I don't think after 5 years or 10, the way we initiated with the plastic, and now we end up with the problem that we say plastic is a bane and we should not use it. Similarly, I suppose after some time we will realize this even.
Okay. I think you've covered quite a few topics here. I'll just pick them apart here for you and address it. So you had two questions. One is now the one you asked before about how AI is basically destroying the ability to think of students, which is true. and how it is also making students lazy, and anybody lazy for that matter, because instead of sitting and writing a paper that would take about a week, they're now going on AI, putting a few points, and it's giving out a handwritten paper, and their job is done in half an hour. The problem here lies not with the technology, and I have to be very honest. It's the age-old conundrum of is it the technology that is bad, or is it the use of the technology that's bad? Because one truth we have to live with is it's like you can't put the technology back to the past. We cannot go back to the past. It's like a mind. When you know something, you know it. You cannot unknow it again, right? It's like an idea that has come to you. No matter what you do, you can't put it back into the past. So AI is here to stay. And like I said, it's not the government, it's not the society that is looking at AI with renewed interest, or I would say with new interest. It is the antisocial elements, the criminal elements. They will continue to use it. You can choose not to use it. Trust me, every person choosing not to use it, there are 100 people who want to use it, and for the wrong purposes. So I think wisdom lies in understanding what technology is, trying to be current with what's happening, and try to ensure you protect yourself from it. It's like a knife. You can either use it to cut fruit, or you can use it to cut somebody's neck. So that's basically what AI is. And coming to the second question, you mentioned something else. Can you repeat that again? You have can you repeat your second question?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we will then move on to the next question.
Well, I don't have a question because I was not supposed to ask question. But let me tell you, AI by itself does not obstruct creativity.
Yes.
It's a question is whether you know how to use technology.
Correct.
To give you a simple example, I asked the other day, Ramesh initiated me to AI, and I used several platforms. I asked the same question to 3 or 4 different platforms. Like, I want to know what is the tension in 8 regions of the world. I asked to Copilot, Perplexity, Gemini, and so on. Now, if we ask students, now we compare the 3 or 4, that will give them the critical ability. If we ask them, now we put it together to make one single point with your viewpoint, then it comes to synthesis. In fact, in taxonomy of Bloom, it was originally no creativity. It was actually synthesis. So our fundamental problem with teachers is they are not familiar how to use technology. I'll stop by saying one of my statements. One of my students, he's a national awardee principal. She was very about internet, leave alone AI. He said, sir, these are all copy-paste. I said, I cannot complain because UNESCO pays me a lot of money for copy-pasting. He said, what do you mean? I said, what is all that we do when you say, test of research? Except that I know what to copy, what to paste, and where to inject my viewpoint.
Exactly.
Now, if we can teach our students, I shared with Ramesh and others, ever since I retired, I don't have an access to a research assistant. And my background is management. So I analyzed what my research assistants used to do. I analyzed what can AI do for me. And I found AI is a better replacement to my research assistant. It is fast. It can do whatever I want to ask, but I don't surrender myself. I always maintain my viewpoint. For example, I talked about tension. I have my viewpoint. What is tension that I understand? If they give me the data, fine enough. Otherwise, let them give any data. I'll contradict or justify by the references. Similarly, when people like researchers use, they must go to the original reference that whether Copilot or Perplexity, Gemini, whosoever is giving. Because I have seen ChatGPT give me absolutely fake but perfect reference
Yes, it does.
in APS 7 style. I mean, flawless. But मुझे लगा ऐसा कोई study है ही नहीं. So Mrityunjay was working with me and Vidhan, and we found none of them exist actually in physically. So my submission is that technology, as you rightly pointed out, that it is here and is not going to go.
Right.
Best is to learn how to use technology. But I must tell Kalpana that after listening to you, I have started praying to God, let AI pass away along with me at least. Because others have many years to go.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It was very, very brilliant presentation.
Thank you,
And
sir. Thank you.
I'm an user, but law is something I'm
Raised a very important point, and that is about your use of AI.
Yeah.
And I really draw parallels between, how, when computers were introduced into the general, society sometime in the 70s, people were like, oh, computers are going to take away our jobs. No, somebody very
Yeah.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
Perhaps this is her.
technological developments
Yes.
with AI. You should know how to use it.
Okay,
Not just
friends,
copy.
thank you so much. And as we have heard this famous dialogue in many of the Hindi movies, कि कानून के हाथ बहुत लंबे होते हैं. So something like we can say
वो
it like
पहले आजकल नहीं है.
so we can say that now
छोटा हो गया.
AI के हाथ चारों तरफ हैं like Hydra.
हाँ, ये भी important है.
So okay, as we come to close of this session, I'm reminded of one statement by Professor Mukhopadhyay. He said in his previous webinars that AI
तो
is not
कानून के लंबे हाथ कमजोर हो रहे हैं.
like AI is not a question of if, but it is the question of now how. So this statement
Yeah.
perfectly captures the reality what we have explored here today. AI is here shaping our courts. In fact, sometimes I read that there was a discussion in Honorable Supreme Court as well. Our businesses, our creativity, our governance. So the very fabric of law itself. So over this discussion, we have identified various key legal challenges that accompany the rise of AI, the elusive question of accountability, the complexity of IPR in a machine-generated world, the delicate balance between innovation and privacy, the persistent but often invisible biasness embedded in algorithms, and the urgent need for cross-border legal harmonization. These challenges are important in their own right, but together they form of a single persistent truth, which is our legal systems must evolve at a speed and scale they can match with the development in this field. We have also discussed another important point that law is not just about controlling the technology. It is about guiding it towards the public good. And in AI, the temptation is to regulate only when things go wrong. Means unless my friend from Japan, Paul Kowachi, we started his Journal of Distance Education in 2003. And he was telling me once that in Japan, if somebody on the road is violating a traffic light, the police wala watching it won't say anything to them. But if something goes wrong, the person hits other person or something, then they will catch him. Now come, now the law will catch hold of you. So this kind. So what we need is anticipatory governance, laws and frameworks that foresee risks, encourage ethical innovations, etc. So today's session would not have been so enriching without the exceptional contribution of Ms. Kalpana ji, her thoughtful presentation, deep expertise. We saw her expertise in a few months ago in another institution in South India, the clear explanations, and they have made this complex legal dimension of AI into a sharp focus. So we acknowledge the global nature of this challenge, which it doesn't recognize the borders, and this calls for a dialogue between various parties, institutions, or nations for that. So one of the key takeaway from today's presentation is that AI is not simply a legal problem to solve. It is an opportunity for us to reimagine what justice, fairness, accountability can mean in a technologically driven world. So let us leave here not only with a sharper understanding of AI's legal challenges, but how to act, to anticipate, and to ensure that our legal systems, they do not just regulate the AI, but shape it into a force that strengthens the rule of law and upholds the dignity of everyone. Because there are so many things going on in the name of deep fake videos, deep fake audios, and anything. And so thank you, friends. Thank you all for your attention, your insights, and the questions which you have raised. So thank you, Kalpana ji.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you everyone for being such an
Thank you.
engaged and thoughtful audience today. And special thanks to Dr. Malhotra, I believe, who has been staying here despite the late hours from wherever he is attending.
He's
Greatly
everywhere.
Oh.
कि उसको नींद नहीं आया
So, and thank
मालूम
you,
से बता दो ना सच बता दो उसको नींद नहीं आती है तो वेबिनार अटेंड करता है
He is Malhotra AI.
And thanks for being again, asking such interesting questions that are really thought-provoking. But then I hope this session and my answers to you have helped you understand the nature of this beast called AI, and then be able to spot the risks that hide in plain sight for all of us. They also give you a fresh perspective on where we stand as users and consumers of this particular tool. And just have a better understanding and appreciation of your legal, regulatory, and compliance challenges and the risks that we face with it. Because technology, nothing comes without risk in life, and more so something like AI, the bigger the benefit, the higher the risk. That's something we need to remember. But together, a little awareness, I think, will help you use this wonderful, wonderful thing that AI is providing for us. So I hope you enjoyed this. And thanks again for your time. It was a pleasure handling this session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So good day, everyone.
Good day.
Okay, Mrityunjay, you can close it now.
Yeah.